Hey everyone, welcome to Be the Change. My name is Lily Mott, and today's episode is about how change comes when you apply for any opportunities that give you a chance. This week's episode features Jade Barnett, who is a co-founder of Power2Prevail Community, as well as a public speaker, workshop facilitator, and more. It was so great to talk with Jade and to learn more about her work with Power2Prevail. So without further ado, let's get started with this episode featuring Jade Barnett.
Yeah, my name is Jade Barnett. I'm 24. I'm the co-founder of Power2Prevail Community. I'm also a public speaker, consultant, host, presenter, and facilitator.
That was a great way to get started. And I would love to know what inspired you to get started doing all of these different things. I think that's a lot of roles and lots to juggle, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But can you tell me the story about getting started with this work?
Yeah, so I've always been involved in youth work in some capacity. Since I was young, my sister was a youth worker, so she was always helping and supporting me and the young people that she looked after when she was working. So it had always kind of been deep down something that I wanted to do. But I originally started to kind of support young people through music and through creativity. So I wanted to be a radio presenter. That was something I really wanted to do. So I would just invite young people, so young people as I was a young person myself, so my peers, to do a radio show, talk about their music, play their music. And then it quickly landed into me wanting to get into advocacy work. My first role into that was working with the Violence Reduction Unit, the Mayor of London's Violence Reduction Unit, as a member of their YPAG. And then I spent 2 years with them doing advocacy, speaking about my lived experience of being a looked after child, turning into a care leaver, also being impacted by the social care system, the education system. And yeah, that kind of like paved the way for me to then get into my public speaking and get into then wanting to have my own organization. Yeah, in short form of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great story. And I do think you started at such a young age, which I really love because I think probably you've been able to see yourself evolve and take on new challenges, which I think is so cool. Can you tell me about that intersection between advocacy and kind of sharing stories and doing it in a creative way? I think that's such a cool thing. And I love when people talk about this. But how did you kind of see being creative in music coming together with advocacy? And what did that look like for you? And then maybe also the young people and your peers that you were working with. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think I went to a college. So after I had been moved around, being in the social care system, I went to college in Dartford. And Dartford isn't necessarily like not a diverse place, but it definitely is disproportionate in terms of seeing Black young people. There wasn't many in my school. I had to sit and think about how can I kind of support this college to allow other young people that go to the college to understand what it means coming from South London, what it means being Black, what it means having Black culture. So through that, I said to myself, I wanted to uplift young artists who came from Black ethnic backgrounds. And I guess it was always exciting to have because you just kind of see the young people always being so excited to hear that their music is being played, regardless if it's on a big platform or not. It's exposure for them, but also the other young people who are on the receiving end of knowing something that they didn't know before or liking the music, or, some of them would pass by like the window of the studio and like, put a thumbs up or like mouth that they like the music. So I think also seeing it on that side, on how the effect of kind of giving people new things to try and listen to was also important as well. And then it easily turned into me, I guess, being a presenter, you always have to be speaking. And I felt like I've always been someone who's always had a loud mouth, or as people would call me, a loud mouth or a chatty patty. So it easily went into me feeling like actually, I've got power in my voice, regardless if that's on radio, regardless if that's on TV, regardless if that was on a stage. So then basically turning my life experiences into speeches and actually writing them down and seeing the fruition of them being written, but then actually speaking them to an audience and seeing that impact on the audience, or seeing the impact on the young people that I'm trying to motivate or instill hope in. was important for me, and I saw that it could really make a difference. So I guess, yeah, I still feel like I still have my creative streak. I just think it's in a different way now. And people probably don't think that far into it, like when you're planning your speeches or your workshops, like how much thought you have to put into it. Because at the end of the day, someone else could land my story, but it wouldn't land in the same way, because firstly, it's not coming from me. And secondly, they wouldn't be able to put it in the words that I would be able to put it in. So yeah, I hope I answered that question.
Definitely. I think that idea of the power of your own story and being the expert of your own experiences, I think you just brought so much wisdom in that answer. I love that. As far as the work that you're doing with Power to Prevail community, can you tell me a little bit about the programming and kind of what you're doing with the organization? I would love for people to check it out. So tell me a little bit about the work that you're doing with the organization.
Cool. Yeah, so Power2Prevail Community is a community interest company, which is basically a social enterprise. We support disadvantaged young people to see that their past and present circumstances don't define their ability to succeed. Our motto is everyone has the power to prevail. So that stems from the fact of no matter where you're at or what you're doing or where you've come from or where you are in life, there is an opportunity for you to grow, do better, be better, and just strive for the best. We specifically support care experienced young people transition into the independence, students on the brink of exclusion, or young people who have been excluded from mainstream school. We also support pathways into employment. And we are kind of now focusing in to wanting to support young people who have been impacted by the criminal justice system, as being care experience, being not in employment, being in the criminal justice system, it all combines, it all adds up. But I feel like with Power2Prevail, we've come a long way. You know, we was only founded in June June 2024, and to be in a position now where we've been able to run our first pilot of Journey to Adulthood, which is a program that supports 16 to 25-year-olds who are care experienced and prepare for their independence. So, you know, when you're in the system, you turn 18 and they do start trying to push you out to live on your own. And a lot of the time, these young people aren't ready for that process. It's based off lived experience. Our whole team is lived experience. We don't have anyone in our team who hasn't lived through the things that we are teaching or we're preaching or that we're showing our young people. And I think that's what makes it more special. Even on top of it, we're all females. So I feel like that is even power within itself. And to be able to watch my baby grow from being a complete idea of procrastination and having this program based off of my own lived experience to now actually being able to receive funding to run it, to see the young people that have gone through it, like all of our young people that completed our program, 5 of them are in employment and one of them is still figuring out where he wants to go. But the fact that they've all completed it and still have learnings from it and are utilizing it now in their everyday lives is important for us to know that what we do works. And that's why now we want to build this community where we want to support young people on more of a regular basis. So, you know, whether that is giveaways, whether that is young people reaching out and us using the contacts and connections that we have in order to support them, whether that is, you know, being a safe space they can come to speak to anyone. Yeah, we're at that position now where we just want to build our community so we can do more impact and more work. So yeah, if anybody ever wants to check us out, you can check us out on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. Power2Prevail, number 2, not 2 as in like you would write it, but number 2 in the middle. But yeah, you can find us there.
I did not realize how new Power to Prevail was. I think that's amazing. I think that it's so great how much you've managed to do over the last couple of months. I think that's so exciting.
Yeah.
As far as the future of the organization, you touched on it a little bit, but what are your dreams? What are the big goals for this? Maybe even kind of shorter term. What are you planning on
Yeah.
in the next couple of months that people could get involved in if they're hearing this now?
So next couple months, I would say as 2025, we are doing our second cohort of Journey to Adulthood in April. So firstly, if there's any young people who are care experienced out there who would like to refer themselves, please do. Lunch, travel, all of that expenses is covered. If anyone wants to be able to support what we're doing, we have a GoFundMe page so anyone can donate, even if it's a penny or a pound or £100. Every penny helps, as we are trying to save to run a Christmas dinner for care leavers at the end of the year. So obviously you've got a lot of time to save up till then, but obviously it does cost money to get young people from their houses to our location. So a lot of the money is going to be used for like cabs and transport to get the young people back and forth. We're also opening up our volunteering STEM. So my co-founder is looking at getting volunteers on board to support with our mentoring aspects, but also to support with the running of the program. So the daily stuff of taking content, you know, speaking to young people, engaging with young people at times and capacities that we aren't able to do that. And similarly, if anybody wants to feed into our work, so, you know, what I mean by that is like, you know, we do want to expand to the criminal justice system, and we are looking for people who have been involved in that sector, whether that is working in that sector, have been affected by that sector. We're always interested to hear, because we do want people to feed into our work. We don't want it to just be our own ideas. We want people to kind of feed into what we're doing. So there's so many different ways. But yeah, even just sharing what we do, I think, is helpful enough. So yeah.
I love that. As far as some of the challenges that you faced with this work that you're doing, obviously being a new organization, there's so much to go through and you're kind of in the thick of it, I'm sure right now, trying to figure out where to go after you've been so successful over the last couple of months. Tell me about maybe some of the challenges that you faced with getting Power to Prevail community started and what that's looked like over the last couple of months.
I think the hardest thing is well, there's quite a lot of hard things. I think it's really easy for people to be like, oh, you've done so well in such a short space of time. But it has taken me a long time to grasp to even get Power2Prevail to where it is. Just because I got registered in June doesn't mean that I haven't been doing the work prior. You know, I had to build my network, I had to build my LinkedIn, I had to get myself out there, I had to get people to know, like, this is what I'm standing for, people to take me seriously as well. I also think as well, applying for funding, it's not easy. You know, I spent nights and days, hours applying for this fund, trying to put work in so I could get it. Even things like, you know, I still have my full-time job. I work a 9 to 5. I work an evening job, a 5 to 9. I do public speaking, I do the presenting, I pick up jobs here and there. Like, I'm busy 24/7. So even making time for my business was challenging. I also do feel like having a team, you know, it's really easy for people to be like, yeah, they're interested and they're down to help, to be a part of something. But you do have to find people who really are passionate about what you stand for. And it's not always easy to just find those people. You know, that's why I was so reluctant to start a business in the first place, because I knew I needed the support, but it was about, where do I get that support from and how can I trust people, and, you know, how do we not end up in problems? But I've luckily have a team who have been very supportive of me. I feel like obviously as well, like, money, I feel like is obviously a challenge. Like, you know, we don't get paid for all the other things that we do to build Power2Prevail, you know, having meetings back to back, you know, going to networking events, you know, like buying our website, like those are things that we have to pay for out of our own money that doesn't come back into our pockets as co-founders. So it has been really, really challenging, but I feel like I believe in my business, and I know that my business can thrive as long as it gets the time and the love and the nurture that it needs. So I think that keeps me going throughout the challenges, but also remembering as well the impacts that we're going to have on the young people. You know, we haven't supported loads of young people for the 6 months that we've been open, but the 6 that we have supported have come and said that it's been helpful. And I feel like that's the most important. Sometimes it's not always about numbers. So yeah.
I think that's all great advice, and I do think that background work is such a great point to bring up, because I think you're right that people might see this on the surface, but it's the hours that you put in before the launch, and it's all of the hours that you're putting in now to sustain it. So I think, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I have one more question for you. Lots of young people want to create change and make a difference, but they might not know how to get started with that work. What advice would you want to share for those people who may be listening?
I would say apply for any opportunities that give you the chance. So, for example, like advisory groups, young trustees, any opportunities that kind of align with the advocacy work that you want to do it. Have a LinkedIn. You must have a LinkedIn. Like, that is like key thing to have a LinkedIn, because you can start connecting with people who are doing similar stuff to you, or you can start connecting with the organizations or the companies that you may want to work with. I would also say as well, like, utilize your social media platforms. Maybe sometimes it is going on there and speaking about the subject that you're passionate about. You might have people engaging with you. You might then have people messaging you like, "Oh, would you come and talk at this school for free, or would you come into?" And I know sometimes when people ask you to do things for free, it might be like, "Oh, why am I doing it for free?" But you have to start somewhere. I wasn't always doing things paid all the time. But like now, as I've gotten older and I have less time, I can pick and choose and make that decision. But I think when you're first starting out, you do have to allow people to hear your voice so they know what you're about. And never be afraid to share what you want to share. I feel like it's really easy for people to get worked up and say, "Oh, I don't know what to say," or this is not perfect and that is not perfect, and I don't have this website and I don't like take what you have, utilize what you have, and go with it. And if you're really passionate about your cause, it will just flow naturally. You know, like I said, I write my speeches, but I actually, when I think about it in hindsight, I write my speeches for keynotes, but when I go to do workshops or facilitation, I don't need that because it just naturally flows out. Like, I've lived it, I'm passionate about it, I know about it, that's my bag. So it's naturally going to free flow. So, and also just believe in yourself. There's no one can believe in you more than you can believe in yourself. So if you put that energy into yourself, then it's really going to take you so far to get into the spaces that you want to get into. So.
I really enjoy talking with Jade and learning about her work with Power2Prevail Community. If you're interested in learning more about the organization and getting involved, check out the links in the description of this episode. Jade shared some great opportunities for people, and if those opportunities, or others that you come across, sound like things that you'd be interested in, take Jade's advice and apply, because change comes when you apply for any opportunities that give you a chance. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and you can find Jade on Instagram and LinkedIn, and I included those links in the description of this episode. If you want to talk about anything I mentioned, please reach out to me by email at lily@bethechangepodcast.org or on Instagram at Be The Change Media Network. I am working on expanding Be The Change Media Network, which means bringing you more inspiring stories from amazing guests. If you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate it if you could leave the podcast a rating and a comment, because it will help these stories to reach, educate, and inspire more people. And I would also love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Tune in for my next episode, but until then, be the change you wish to see in the world. Bye, guys.